All right, Genesis 21, let's call this one laughter. Why? Because that's exactly what is going to get Ishmael in trouble and eventually set off the event that is going to get he and his mother Hagar sent out of Abraham's home. Why? Because in a lot of ways, going back to chapter 16, when we talked about the home environment being one where Abraham, after seeing the tension get so bad between Sarah and Hagar, withdraws to the point where he's being so non-judgmental that he's failing to set standards and recognize that if they're going to move forward effectively, they're going to have a sense of peace. And so without setting those boundaries, we said that Sarah might have leaned too far into being too judgmental because, as we phrased it, she ended up blaming everybody in the house not named Sarah. And that might be a slight exaggeration, but it's not much of one. Because as we get to chapter 21, the thing that gets Hagar and Ishmael sent out is laughter. And that seems to be a very small thing to send someone out of a home because of, unless there's more going on. And there are two things that might be going on that we will mention after we actually look at the verse, which is verse 9. But Sarah saw the son of Hagar the Egyptian, whom she had borne to Abraham, laughing. So she said to Abraham, cast out this slave woman with her son, for the son of this slave woman shall not be heir with my son Isaac. And understand, the laughter comes on the occasion of the birth of Isaac in a banquet they throw in his honor. The laughter may be footnoted in your Bible as being more akin to mockery than just mere laughter, but either way, it's an indication that all was not well in the home and the tension lingered. And one of the first things to notice is for us as adults, in situations where we may not be outwardly having problems, kids can still pick up on unspoken tensions. And this isn't the last time we're going to see something like this in the Word. Why? Because in a few chapters, we're going to see a dispute between two sisters, Leah and Rachel, one who's able to have kids and the other who is not. Their tension is going to form battle lines between their children. And it doesn't seem like it's a coincidence there any more than it seems like it's a coincidence here. And it seems that Ishmael might have, the Bible doesn't specifically say he did, might have picked up on unresolved tensions that lingered in the household. Because when in chapter 16, Hagar left the home, God sent her back and told her to submit. But submission does not always mean that tensions have resolved. And so that might feed into why the laughter here ended up getting them put out of Abraham's house. But later on, something else interesting goes on in the chapter when they are in the wilderness at a point of despair where they think they're actually going to die. And the word notices this in verse 17. And God heard the voice of the boy, and the angel of God called to Hagar from heaven and said to her, what troubles you, Hagar? Fear not, for God has heard the voice of the boy where he is. And understand that phrase, the voice of the boy, reminded me so much of when Jesus cautioned his disciples not to despise the little ones because their angels constantly see the face of his Father in heaven. And so even this young man, even if his laughter has gotten him kicked out of the house, he's not unlike Abraham, because Abraham's prayers were still heard, even though his lying got other people in trouble and got them severe consequences. And so it goes back to that principle that God is not waiting for us to be perfect to answer our prayers, but he is lending his ear to his regulars, and it matters what we do. So like we said in the video entitled Regular, there's a reason why Abimelech couldn't necessarily pray for himself, because if you look at the context of the Philistines, they weren't people who maintained a regular relationship with God, whereas Abraham, even in his imperfection, did, and God was still willing to listen to him. But Ishmael is going to be described as a wild donkey of a man, which raises the question that even though God was willing to listen to him in his imperfection, was Ishmael willing to abide with God long enough to be perfected? See, because it's not just about God overlooking our imperfection. It's whether or not we will remain with him long enough for him to work those kinks out of our character. And so that's the question we have to answer for ourselves as well. Even if God is overlooking our imperfections, are we going to remain with him through the process of being perfected? Because Jesus promises it is possible.